Okie dokie, in this little video workshop, I'm going to play with Adobe Firefly, and I'm also using Maya to do very simple blockouts and a camera to drive the composition of the output of Adobe Firefly. So let's just start with Firefly itself, and as you can see I've put a text prompt in, and it really is just relying on the potluck of our AI overlords to see what it comes out with, and it's kind of created this kind of wide angle shot, but if I want to be a bit more exacting, this is where the Maya trick comes in to drive this what we call composition reference. So let's nip back into Maya and have a look at what we got there. I'm going to let's get a camera angle of my very simple blocks here. Kind of quite like that angle. You can see I can do a lot of play here. I might make it a little bit more wide angle. Maybe a bit too much there. Make it about 15. Alright. So I'm using Maya to kind of create a control or a composition reference in our Adobe Firefly. So if I render that out, this might take a few seconds. There it goes. It's just doing a few passes. This is rendering in Arnold, and it's doing it at 1920 by 1080. I feel that's kind of big enough to create our kind of composition reference. Okay, that's done its trick. If I go File, Save Image, I can chuck that into my little AI Play folder that I made earlier today. So if I go to Desktop, AI Play, and we'll call that City Scene. You can see I've been dabbling a bit earlier, so I might have a look at that one as well. So if I save that, nip across back to Firefly, and here we've got composition reference. Rather than using one of Adobe's own structures, I'm going to upload that one that we just made, City Scene. I'm going to put that in, and usually by default that'll be in the center. In fact, let's kind of leave that as is, and you can see down at the prompt it's got still the same thing, medieval city nestled in nature, but now we've got this tab for composition reference. So this control is going to hopefully align the artwork and the image generated a bit more in keeping with the layout and composition I'm interested in from Maya. So doing its little trick, tick tick tick. There we go, and you know what, it's not done a bad job on what it's based on, but obviously there's no context to these blocks, so it's still kind of interpreting it. Just going to lift the strength up and see how that fares. While that's doing its generation, let's go into that file and get that picture. And then let's compare and contrast that photo with the Adobe's. Let's squeeze that up. Right, let's have a look. You know what, it's done a fair good job there, and it's kind of even took in some of these kind of tapered tops and stuff. So see this one down at the bottom? It's even kind of got that intersection of the two blocks there quite well. You know what, I'm quite impressed by that. I mean, it's still totally a random pot look, but at least it's kind of starting to be guided by the my kind of control through Maya. So that's one big takeaway I hope you can use for driving your own kind of mood board references. Next thing we can have a look at is I'm going to switch off auto so it doesn't jump between photo and art on its own TOD. I'm going to switch it off, and we're just generating kind of art, so not illustrative stuff. I'm going to go to styles, and if you browse the gallery, there is already a fair bit of its own kind of references, so maybe we'll take this kind of pencil sketch one there, and let's see how it fares with a combination of my composition reference that I gave from Maya and this kind of pencil sketch from Adobe's own little sample library. So let's generate that, and as you can see down here I've got style reference, composition reference. Tick tick tick, off it pops. See what the internet's give us. Graph instead. Oh no, there it goes. It's done an interesting render there. Quite impressed by that. But maybe I can use my own photographs. So if I upload my own reference, I've got some old 1960s family photos here. One here from the Tower of London. Let's stick that in as a style reference. Got the set in the middle. Let's generate that. So this is using my own artwork or photograph. And what I'm hoping it'll do, it'll pick up that colour palette, and it has done a good job there. It's picked up that colour palette of the old 60s photograph, and it's still being reinforced by that structure reference, composition reference there. You know, that's not doing a bad job, and in fact, if you know, let's go and open that up. That's kind of the photograph I fed it. Quite like that. Quite impressive. Maybe a bit too much. I'm going to bring the visual intensity down and strength down to 0, and well, strength to 1. Let's try generating that. Okay, it's kind of taken the reference to that photo, probably a bit too much, but then that's what I'm feeding it. So what I might need to do is go down to the effects and maybe push some of these kind of presets here. So maybe I want it to be like a charcoal sketch, and you can see that it adds that tab there, and you can see that we've got loads of other movements, themes, materials to experiment with. Maybe I'll say charcoal and bold lines, see what that makes of it. Hopefully it'll get us back to that kind of sketch effect. Yeah, there we go, that's looking really good as a nice starting point for a pitch board or something that I could give to a concept artist and say, you know, run with this, do your own thing based on that. Quite like this one down at the bottom, so I'm going to favourite that. So that's using composition driven by Maya. In fact, let's just remind ourselves, I've already got one I did from above, so remember, I'm not typing in a camera angle, I'm not having to prompt it with text, I'm using the composition reference to play with the layout and composition and camera angle. So if I generate that, still using the same prompt and the other assets of the style reference, charcoal and bold lines. Let's see how that fares. That's looking a bit wacky. Quite like that one there. I'm going to favourite that. Maybe it's not too fantasy. Maybe this is where we might have to just amend the prompt a little bit. So I'm going to say an ornate medieval village and city, and you can see that even if you've got suggestions on, it might kind of suggest some stuff. I'm going to put that one there, bridge over a stream. Let's see what that does. So I've got our composition reference. Hopefully it's logically figures out where to put the river. We've got our Tower of London old 60s photographs, and oh yeah, quite like this one here. I wouldn't say that's medieval, it feels a little bit more kind of steampunky, that one, but I do like it. It's got my mind flying now and thinking about ideas, but maybe medieval castle, fantasy city with turrets and flags. Let's really go for it. Yeah, these two are quite nice. I'm going to take that one there and favourite that one. So I've got these now. I quite like that one. I could download it, and that's something I can play with as a image further in Photoshop or kind of photo bash. Let's just do one of two final things. So down at the bottom you can also put in some references to like colour and colour palettes, and that's probably going to get overridden by the charcoal, so I'm going to take that off and take that one off, and let's try this kind of more like fresco with a kind of more pastel-y colour palette and a lighting that's kind of golden hour. And the composition is driving the camera angle, but in there there's still some other phrases like macro photography, and in fact I'm going to put shallow depth of field and hope we get a kind of what we call tilt shift effect. So let's generate that and see what it comes up with. Tick 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 goes the internet. It's nearly done a fair job there. Quite like that one. I must admit I did like that kind of sketchy effect, so I'm just going to put sketch on. So do one more generation. You can see I'm going down a rabbit hole of play now. But this is good. I'm trying to find the look I'm after before I start spending deeper time trying to get the art direction that I'm after. So that's, why we should be using AI, not to do our work for us, but to help bounce ideas off that then, I've not got like a mental block on, and I can, use this as a reference or a kind of scrapbook, mood board for my own kind of drawings. Anyway, I hope that was useful. I think the big takeaway is, playing in Maya or Blender or Unreal or whatever 3D program you're doing, and just doing this very simple blocking out of, in this reference a city, but we could also maybe look at props and vehicles and stuff like that as well. Okie dokie, get playing.